What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, as always, Justin Harold, and with me, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we're bringing you a little bit of a live update with the Cleveland Browns and the free agency market and the trade market. Obviously, if you haven't been on Twitter or social media in the past, I think 3 days, then you might be really out of the loop. But if you have been on Twitter and other social medias, then you know that the Browns were heavily involved in the trade attempt for Deshaun Watson. As of today, March 17th, 2022, the Cleveland Browns are supposedly out of the running for Deshaun Watson. Apparently, it is down to the Saints and the Falcons as to who he will waive his no trade clause for. This coming off of the news, of today, there's a lot of things to talk about in terms of what's going to happen with the Browns moving forward, what they're going to do at the quarterback position. If you, like I said, haven't been on Twitter or social media in general, Instagram, then you might have missed the Baker Mayfield kind of farewell letter or not farewell. Just don't know what you would want to call that little social media post, but just airing his thoughts about the whole situation and what was going down with Deshaun Watson and the Browns looking to upgrade from him at this current time. If I sound a little sick, I'm still sick from the other day. It sounds a little bit worse, but I'm doing all right, Jeff. A lot's happened in the last 72 hours. Let's just say that. How are you feeling about things, and where's your head at?
Yes, a lot happened would be an understatement, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
My head, no idea. Honestly, getting fed up, getting sick of it. The Cavs are thank God it's Cavs season. I could go think about them if I need to step
yeah,
away from everything that's going on because it's basically like you live on Twitter, you live in Twitter spaces, which has been cool. It's been interesting to see the community develop into that way, but I don't know, man. This offseason just still young. That's the
yeah.
issue. I think if this was happening closer to the season, it would be a lot worse than people are making it out to be. I think that this just shows you from the bottom line is that like I don't know, somebody who really liked Baker in the media, Dan Orlovsky literally said yesterday on Twitter that the relationship between the Browns and Baker was done as soon as the season ended. So it's a lot of, he said this, he said that type of mentality. I have no idea what's going on. They clearly are looking to upgrade. That was for certain. I don't know if they're trying to make a lateral move, and I don't really care like Baker has to play for us if we keep him. So he has no leverage in this situation. It's really all the front office. It really could all be Jimmy Haslam. Who really knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really hard to like dictate where we start this conversation, but yeah, in terms of the whole Baker stuff, I mean, listen, as much of a Baker guy I am, and as much as I wanted to see him bounce back from the bad year he had last year and come back and hopefully lead this team back to the playoffs. A lot of these things are leaning towards the sense of that this relationship is unrepairable. Um, it's you know if this was the route they were going to go and they knew that they were going to try and upgrade at Watson and they told and this is the hard part about all this. We see reports of Baker's team wasn't informed that they were going to do this, and then we see that they were, and then we see that it wasn't that they were informed that they were going to try to upgrade at quarterback, but just look at top tier guys like Deshaun Watson. But you have to imagine that all this, no matter what, we all know Baker Mayfield's personality, and this we all knew was going to irk him in a way. And then goes out and he posts the social media posts. The big thing here is are Andrew Barry and Kevin Stefanski willing to roll the dice and keep Baker Mayfield here in this locker room where who knows what the locker room's thinking right now? Are they split? Are they okay with Baker? Are they like who knows? It's so hard to get a read for this. I saw like a post that Baker and Wyatt Teller were together last night. Obviously, there are some guys that I think on this team like Baker, think the world of Baker. And then there could totally just be guys that don't care. They don't care who they're playing with, or they don't like Baker. There's three different ways I think you could put it. At the end of the day, though, I think it's more about the GM and the head coach and what they're thinking. And, the question since the Watson thing has been decided is there a plan B? Was there a plan B in terms of what they were going to do at quarterback? Is it really true that they told Baker, hey, if we don't get Watson, you're still our guy? Like, what kind of message does that send? And I don't know. Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know what to believe, really. Got some people in chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button down below. Share with your friends. Bebo says, not going to lie, I really thought we had a chance with Watson. I think there was a chance. I really do think that was the case, and that leads me to believe that Baker found out through social media. I really don't think we notified him. Someone's been – the only thing I gather from all this is someone has been lying somewhere because we said he was going to be the guy. Somebody said we talked to him at the combine. The relationship seemed completely fine. What was that, 2 weekends ago? So now I don't even know what's happened, what's going on. John's trying to offer some advice for Justin being sick.
Made me smile a little bit. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I know a lot of people are pretty divided on the sense of Baker, whether they wanted to run it back. Jeff, you've always been the lead table banger on the idea that you don't want to waste years with this roster with these guys like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward in their primes. And, that's a very valid, argument. The problem here is all right, now that you didn't land Deshaun Watson, what is the real ideal scenario? Because I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be honest. I wasn't personally a fan of going out and getting Deshaun Watson because of all the other – he's a great football player. I won't deny that. He's probably a top 5, top 10 quarterback, and there have been plenty of situations just like his with Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Vick, and all that where they've had, major things personally against them but have still come back and played great football. That's whatever. But, at this point in time – with Baker not being the guy, because it just seems like Baker's not the guy here. Whether I like that or not, I'll admit that I was wrong. That it's, I said he was the guy. I said that we should offer him the contract, and that's not happening. But now that we're here in this situation, it's really like you cannot give this to – and this is my opinion, and I'm sure Jeff is opposite of this because he's had this opinion a little bit that I don't want to give this team to another rookie quarterback. I'd rather us go out there and try to swing again at another quarterback like Derek Carr. And I don't want to swing at a Jimmy Garoppolo because I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo do what he did with San Francisco and Jared Goff do what he did with the Rams. They had great defenses, but those two quarterbacks weren't able to win them Super Bowls. I would really like Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is a great quarterback, and he's only on a 1-year deal. You might as well try to see if you could do a swap and give the Raiders a pick or something for Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield.
I just don't know. I just don't know what Las Vegas really thinks because they have all new front office. I would like Derek Carr as well, and this is what I've been trying to figure out. Is that the tweet that's been going around that Nathan Zagura, who works for the Browns, was deleted, was that there was somebody who wasn't a quarterback that might get moved, that might open up a quarterback. People were saying he was talking about maybe Kyler Murray, but I don't know how that makes any sense. I don't know what Arizona's plan is. There's just some instability around the league because what does Vegas want to do? If they think they're making aggressive moves, I feel like in free agency, but is it the player Darren Waller? That's my biggest thing. I don't know why it would be, but if Darren Waller gets moved from Las Vegas, their offense is nobody.
I have no idea what that tweet was in reference to.
I don't know what it is reference to either.
I don't know what player they would
if
trade.
Devontae Adams goes somewhere else and Green Bay doesn't retain him, is Aaron Rodgers going to ask out? I have no idea because that's a whole mess over there. There's just so many things that are up in the air. And that's why I've been trying to separate what we've been actually doing versus the Watson thing, because I actually have been completely fine with the other things that we've done with the 3 days of free agency so far. I think the Von Miller contract is egregiously bad. The Browns would never agree to a contract like that with anybody, I don't think, with not a lot of people. I think Chandler Jones, I don't know, he had a couple good games last year, but I don't know if he's worth $17 million at his age. All these guys are old. Like, these edge rushers are getting money and they're so old. We're going to have other talent available. There's still defensive linemen out there. I actually really enjoy that we prioritized getting a special teams player who could return punts and kicks the whole season. Knock on wood for us. We don't have to see Donovan Peoples-Jones returning punts. This guy's a stud. He was great with Chicago. I liked him a lot with Chicago. And there's still trades to be had. Why overpay when you could trade somebody? Apparently, Danielle Hunter's on the outs in Minnesota. Like, that's going to be probably my biggest name if you could trade like decent assets for him and not totally overpay. But I don't know what's going on with front offices around the league. And it makes it hard to be like, okay, like, what is San Francisco doing? What is Las Vegas doing? What is, where's Deshaun Watson going? Is Matt Ryan on the move? It's so many moving pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I think since the last time we talked, so I think the last thing that happened that we talked about was the Jarvis Landry cut. Since then, J.C. Treader cut, Anthony Walker re-signed, Taven Bryan, that was already done, correct? I believe that was already done. And then, like Jeff was alluding to, with Jakeem Grant, the punt returner / kick returner, and we re-signed Chris Hubbard, which I think is huge. It's just that
me too.
I think we've jumbled a lot of what's going on with the Browns, and it's really fair to kind of compare the AFC North. The Bengals, I think they've gone out and they've solidified their line a little bit, their offensive line. The Ravens made a move for Zadarius Smith. The Steelers are still kind of a little bit lost. All they go out and do is get Mitch Trubisky and I think an offensive lineman at this point, but it's tough. The quarterback thing is such a huge key, because I was willing to run it back with Baker. I just don't know that, now I don't know. I would like to see Baker back, but I also just know that what we've played ourselves into does not bode well. And now I'm sitting here wondering, all right, Derek Carr is a proven commodity, I think. Jimmy Garoppolo is a, proven commodity to a sense, and what you're probably going to get with him. You're probably going to get a step above Baker / Case Keenum in play, and that's probably about it. Is that enough? I don't know. I don't think so. And then you have potential guys Jordan Love is probably the most interesting person out there yet.
Mariota, maybe Mariota, honestly.
But even then, that signals to me, if you go and you get Mariota, I'm not very happy at that point.
I wouldn't be happy either, but I really do think that the front office, I think, went after Deshaun Watson, one, and I think that their backup plan is going to be to say, okay, there's 1,000 options we could do, because just let's just say hypothetically, whatever happens, we make the playoffs. I think that's the goal for this front office. Just if they want to keep their jobs. Obviously, the goal is to win a Super Bowl. You cannot discredit them for doing their jobs. They're going out there to try to upgrade the quarterback position. I'm not upset that they've done this personally. I know other people might be. That's fine. There's merit to all sides here. That's the difficult approach. But when your job is on the line, especially in an industry like the National Football League, you're going out and trying to upgrade where is necessary. We've seen Andrew Berry do it at every other step of the way. Quarterback, no different. He just proved it to us. But let's just say we make the playoffs. I think that it was Deshaun Watson first, and then it's if you could get Jimmy G and keep this year's first, that might be just as good. If you could bring Jimmy G in here or Derek Carr and draft Garrett Wilson at 13 or an edge at 13, that could be the equivalent of bringing in Deshaun Watson, him getting suspended 6 games and then playing for you 12 games and then just hoping that works out, unless it's more games. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things where, 2 to 3 pieces could have equaled 1 at the end of the day. I wouldn't be thrilled with Mariota, but if you look at our schedule, we are going to make the playoffs this year. barring craziness, stupidity happening, if we get this much better quarterback play than we did last year. We're playing the Jets. We're playing the AFC South. I know we got to play Tom Brady, but if Deshaun Watson goes to Atlanta, I think we'll beat him. I really do. I don't care about Atlanta. I don't really care about New Orleans, really. Even if he goes there, I think we got a good chance against that whole division. Tom Brady's going to have to come to First Energy. And we're getting New England at First Energy. We play the Jets. We play the Washington football team. You hope to stay competitive in the division. Go 2-4 at the worst. 3-3 is really good. 4-2 is ecstatic. And just like that, hey, you're probably in a wild card. Honestly, like I know we had a disappointing year last year, but we were literally not getting a whole roster of COVID away from making the playoffs. We were not 4 interceptions on Christmas Day away from making the playoffs. We were not, sweeping the Ravens away from making the playoffs. So it's like I don't think all is lost at all.
No, shit. I don't think all is lost either. There are some holes that need to be filled
for sure
on the defensive side for sure. But I guess I'm just like as a part of this Deshaun Watson trade talks, I'm glad that we're not taking away draft picks. I can't wait to see the haul that a team gets for Deshaun Watson.
Right. That's the worst case scenario. Oh, we keep Denzel, Greg Newsome, Kareem Hunt, and 3 firsts. Like, wow. Like it really could have been worse.
Who knows what else? Like it could have been seconds and more.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let him go to Atlanta. What are they giving away? They're gonna have to like Matt Ryan's contract isn't even restructured. What is New Orleans giving away? New Orleans might be shelling the Kamara or somebody. You never even know.
Right. And I'm glad that Andrew Berry gets to, use those picks because we've talked about it. He's been very good in rounds 1 and 2, and I look forward to him being able to, use those draft picks. But here's my thing with Marcus Mariota. If people had a problem with Baker Mayfield, I think the only reason you would like Marcus Mariota is that maybe he doesn't throw too many interceptions, and in a system like ours, maybe he would thrive just because we're not asking him to do too much. But at the end of the day, I don't think he ever did anything in Tennessee that was, I think that's why it led to his departure from Tennessee and Ryan Tannehill taking over. But, Jimmy G, like I said, I think if you have a list of players right now, a list of quarterbacks at least, and you're ranking them in terms of whatever you want to say, like
right. I just think he'd be on the list.
Yeah, I think and he's a free agent, right? We wouldn't have to trade for him. No.
I think he's a free agent. This is why, honestly, I think Pittsburgh has had a pretty good offseason so far because I think we would have pivoted directly to Mitch Trubisky, honestly.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think, and that's the only problem because Marcus Mariota is the only one that is a free agent. You'd have to trade for the rest of these guys, but my list goes Derek Carr. I can't believe I'm saying this. Jordan Love. I have no idea how good Jordan Love could be.
I won't even put him on the list because I had never seen the kid play.
Jimmy G and then Marcus Mariota.
People are saying Jimmy G would be good because Shanahan, our system is kind of derived off of Shanahan. But I don't know, dude. He plays in San Francisco all year long. I know he played serviceable enough to be Green Bay in Lambeau. Like that, you can't discredit that. Like you have to go through cold weather in the NFC as well. But
he has a star tight end.
He doesn't do anything dumb. Like that's the only thing I'm looking for. But like, do you really want to give up like 2 seconds and a third just for somebody to not do anything dumb?
Yeah, and I didn't want to say this about.
But what are these people making? Like his money is ridiculous, dude. Like I think it's Carr or like I'm gonna pound the table, bro. Malik Willis at 13. Who cares? Who cares if he's a project? We'll get him through. We got Baker through the last 2 years. We could get him through this year and just hope he's good. And then next year you go full sell in the offseason. Get 1 year under his belt. I know it seems like wasting a year, but I think either way Watson was the only way we're not wasting a year unless somebody comes in and just plays the best football of their career, which is likely.
I think the problem is even with Watson, like I think, does he put us in the playoffs? Absolutely. But once you get into the playoffs, now you're looking at, all these great teams in the AFC. We know about it. We know about Kansas City. We know about the Bills. We know about Cincinnati, Baltimore. There's a lot of good teams. Like at that point, it's more about the whole roster than just the quarterback, I think. And I think that's kind of what you saw with the Super Bowl. Obviously, they shelled out for Matthew Stafford, but they also shelled out for Von Miller and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Like,
Mhm.
they had a whole roster. And that's why I was always okay with Jeff making the point about, hey, like, we have a roster built. We don't want to waste time. But now we're just sitting here and I'm like, who are quarterbacks that haven't been talked about that are potential trade targets? Like, I have to go look right now, but I don't know. Like, is there someone that's better than all these guys that we've been talking about that could potentially be available? I don't want Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's
I think Matt Ryan's on the list, but you're gonna
I
have to get him and be like, hey, like I just like you can't pay him. You cannot pay him whatever he's gonna be making. So I think you're gonna have to get somebody who's on a mid contract, like even Derek Carr. This is why Derek Carr is the best option because you could trade for him. His contract isn't egregious, and he's probably the best bang for your buck. He's probably better than Jimmy G for less money. He's probably better than Matt Ryan for less money. So many factors. Mike, appreciate you being in chat. Derek Carr, probably the best option. Who needs Twitter Spaces? Cleveland Pulse Live on YouTube. Yeah, dude. Twitter Spaces they're interesting. I think you should hop in some if you haven't been in them before. But I don't know.
been for 5 minutes and then I have.
I think we provide the long form conversation. We got the StreamYard link down below. We've thought about doing Spaces, but it's like 1,500 people in it, and obviously, we would love having 1,500 people live. Like, no one's going to say that we wouldn't, but it's like we get to talk to people, bring your stuff right on screen. We could literally bring you on. You could talk. And Twitter Spaces, it's like you say like 3 or 4 sentences and it's like go to the next person because there's just so many people in line to talk, which is cool. Like, it's a good platform, but they're just interesting.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing in talking with what Mike is saying with so are we operating on the thought that Baker is gone now, I think like you have to, but if they bring him back, that's just like that's an interesting thought in itself. Like, can he get you back to that 2020 season where he played well and he got you to the playoffs, or I don't know, but I'm in the mind of like he cannot. And people know me. I'm a big Baker believer. I'll probably root for him when he's not here. I want to see how he does if he's not here. But at the end of the day, it's like Malik. The problem I have with the rookie quarterbacks outside of probably Pickett and Ritter is like the majority of them are just Baker replicates, except that Malik Willis is probably going to be able to run a little bit better. But like, you're going from a 6-foot quarterback to a 6-foot quarterback. I think that was always people's complaint about Baker is like he's a short guy. Like, he doesn't play like Drew Brees and he doesn't play like Russell Wilson. So
right, I think Malik Willis could play like Russell Wilson is the hopes. And you just try to build like the Baltimore model. Like, okay, your wide receivers are kind of middle of the road. You hope Njoku could play, pretty well. You have always good running backs.
Oh, we didn't talk about Hooper being gone. Completely forgot about that.
But all these moves were expected. Like, everything so far has been expected. To me, a lot of people thought the Treader news was some shock. I was on the track, like, not even for victory laps, because I don't want to do victory laps. I don't want to do I was right about Baker, I was wrong about Baker, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all Browns fans. That's why I have this shirt on. I'm gonna root for the Browns. I might have to get rid of gear, but like whatever. Like, do I have to get rid of? I just got a Greg Newsome shirt. Do I got to get rid of him if he's traded? Look at this thing. I'm glad he might not be getting moved, but like we're all Browns fans. This is what I don't understand. Like, I just want the team to succeed. So I thought Treader was like, I thought we might look at center at 13.
I think we talked about it after at least like.
Oh yeah, I didn't think they were that sold on Harris, but
yeah, I think he's serviceable, and we've talked about Callahan being a very good coach.
So. I do wonder though. You have to wonder if the timeline coincides with Watson. You literally have to think that it does for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the Russ move there's no reports of this, but I think Russ getting traded to the AFC really was like light a fire under somebody's ass, because it's like now Russ is here. Like, we were already behind the 8 ball. Most people could agree as far as quarterback play, but it's like now you got to go through Russ in Denver. Like, and then you're just like, okay, Treader was probably a cap casualty, but is it like this weird thing where like we're signaling to Deshaun Watson, like, hey, we're freeing up cap? Like, I don't know how anything's been operated.
Yeah. Bebo asking, do you know what I realized? The draft is always lacking with good quarterbacks the years we want one. I mean, that's so fair because I, I talk about the Joe Burrow thing so often. It's like the Bengals just happened to get
Hmm.
so lucky
And he
that
was a
they were the
pure
number
one.
one pick that they got like it was the same thing with the Colts. It's like, hey, you guys got so lucky that in the past decade you got two of the most like NFL ready looking
Hmm.
quarterbacks, and like there's no way they're not going to be good. And so far, Andrew Luck, outside of having injuries and ending his career early, he was fantastic. And Joe Burrow in his second year took his team to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it kind of sucks. But the only other caveat to that is sometimes you don't know that some of these guys are, some of them could be phenomenal quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, some of these guys are taken, Lamar Jackson for that. Some of these guys are not taken in the top five, top 10, even in the first round, and end up being maybe, I guess you can't say franchise quarterback about Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks, but I mean they turn out to be top 10
He won us.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, he got the job done there. So
Yeah, so
it's just like I really do think their secondary plan is to not have a secondary plan, but just be like, look at how many options we have. Like me and you just went through a list of 5 quarterbacks who we could probably realistically be see brought in. Not that we would love absolutely everyone, but then it's like, okay, we fell in love with Matt Corral at the combine or whatever, whoever, and then or had his pro day, and we'll take him at 13. Okay, we really love Garrett Wilson. We're gonna take him at 13, and we're gonna get Ritter or Sam Howell in the second round. I'm not saying this is what we would want, but it's like we just laid out 7 different options right there. Where just because Watson fell through, there's still a move. Who knows who's available? Like we said, the front offices around the league are all in shambles.
yeah, I really don't know what the answer is going to be, but I feel like there's certainly a lot of options. And I'm somehow sitting here saying that Baker Mayfield being the quarterback, as much as like again, I'll say it, as much as I personally would like to see him be the quarterback after everything that's happened, I don't know that that's a good move. And I think the problem with the keeping Baker and the potential that comes out of this, let's just talk about like the potential scenarios that come out of it.
It's
He
still an
could
option.
he could play well and get us to the playoffs.
Hmm.
Could could he somehow get us to the Super Bowl? I don't know. I mean, we were a drive away from the AFC North championship game 2 years ago,
Right.
and I think, but the problem is, I think that the NFL is more based around overall team play, and I think as of right now, we have a pretty good team. But I thought we had a pretty good team last year. If Baker doesn't get hurt, who knows? Maybe it's us and not the Bengals. But the other side of that is,
If Baker just gets the surgery, I don't even think we're here.
yeah, and that's very possible. And I haven't even gone into the part about like, all right, if he plays somehow phenomenal, like, all right, is he really just going to screw us over and demand huge money, or is he just going to screw us over and say I'm leaving, whatnot? That could happen. Or here's the worst case scenario that I think could happen: Baker doesn't play well, we don't make it to the playoffs, and it's a clean sweep.
Yeah, people
And
ask
I
out. People will just ask out. I think if we don't make the playoffs this year, I think Miles Garrett asks out
Denzel Ward probably takes money somewhere else if we don't get a
if we don't
contract.
pay him. That's what I'm wondering though.
Well, and
Like,
I'm saying Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry.
I don't know, man. I think if this was a Haslam brain trust, I think that there was some assurance that if we didn't get Watts, like I think there's assurance that they're getting at least another year after this year from Haslam. People could go back on their word, but I think Haslam was like, let's just go for this. And he asked, like, I don't think it was a unilateral decision. People think it was either one way or the other. Like Haslam was the only person that wanted to do this, and he basically just handcuffed Andrew Berry and Stefanski. Don't think that's the case at all. I don't think it was Andrew Berry, sole move. I know Stefanski has the least pull out of all of them. I would think, but it's like I think this organization, like this structure, has at least this year and at least next year. But that's what I was waiting for, and I was hoping that the next move coming out from us was going to be a Ward extension, but
Yeah,
who knows now? That's why I don't think Ward was extended. I think Ward was in the deal 100%.
I agree. I think there's no way that deal happens without like one significant Pro Bowler being in there for Watson. But I guess what I want to ask now is what is the next move? Is it figuring out the quarterback position, or is it
It's gotta
carrying on
be.
like nothing's going on? And I mean, like they were doing it even with the Watson rumors while they were on the plane and everything. But you know, now that we're sitting here, defensive line is still a huge need. Um, Linebacker, I guess we have our starting three. You have
Linebacker's
Anthony
fine.
Walker,
Might need a
yeah,
safety
Joe,
before anybody.
yeah. So, what's next? What's next? Realistically, what are we going to do? What is the most viable thing?
I like this article that I sent you because Jake Burns over at the OBR does great work, and I think you just see more prove it deals from Barry. They're frustrating, but like Calais Campbell is a free agent. He's 36, but he thought he played good football last year. We have Eddie Goldman. We have Matt Ioannidis, which I've never heard of this guy until like the last couple of days, and apparently his tape looks real good. And my favorite person who actually Turner Mudrock shouted out to me way before I heard from anybody else is Arden Key. I don't know what his market would look like, but I think he played pretty studly. And like, I don't know, is Tyrann Mathieu on the dole for a safety? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I think you're looking at safety, maybe. You're looking at D line for sure. And you're just like, I know Derek was a big Watson proponent, but like, it's not the end of the world. We didn't get him. It really isn't. Like, it would have been. Who knows what would have happened if we would have got him? Knowing our luck, literally knowing our luck, he probably would have been suspended the whole year. So, I mean, it's glass half full, glass half empty. I'm still curious in the wide receiver market. Cole Beasley was just cut. I think that's a great Jarvis replacement for cheaper.
Mm, Julio
Older
Jones.
older guy. Julio's market's going to suck, but too injury prone for me. Julio, before he made it to the Titans, I probably would have went for him, but after last year, no way.
Yeah, he didn't play very well. He hasn't played very well in the past like 2 seasons. But yeah, I that's what my hope is. Is like, hey, now that the Watson thing's over, hopefully you can focus up and get back to doing the normal work.
We didn't
Focus on
talk
the
about this
draft.
either, Justin.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
mind. I actually liked it for continuity, but he's really
right.
just a tackle machine. He doesn't really do. I think he's actually decent in coverage. His PFF grade in coverage was pretty good.
I think you and I talked about it the year before with BJ Goodson.
Yeah.
I think we thought it was a real possibility that he was just going to come back because
Mhm.
of continuity sakes. And I personally wouldn't have liked to see that happen, but um, I do think that you're right that for continuity and for how he played, and him and John Johnson, for all we know, could just be guys that it took a year, whatnot, and they get better in the scheme and what, but it really is I think it's an okay move. Like you don't want to create holes you don't have to, and
I think that decision was just like, hey, we're just gonna trade Mac and just roll with Walker. Like
right.
they didn't want to bring anyone else in, so there's like we're just not gonna keep both of them. I did this last year, and I think we were right. We were optimistic on the draft past round two. At least I was. I thought a lot of our draft picks were hits, and like I think Demetri Felton is going to be a hit. Later down the road, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, like maybe next year, but probably not this year. So if Kareem Hunt's on the roster, but
I'm very surprised to see Mike's latest comment. Honestly,
me too. But what I love the Chase Winovich move. I think that was a great trade for us. But I mean, Mike's making sense here.
yeah. Well, I think it. I guess because what he's saying at the end is the most important part. I think any move we make is a lateral move at best. The only person, and I agree 100%, the only move I see that isn't a lateral move is probably Derek Carr. But again, we don't know the availability of Derek Carr, what it would cost to get him. Like, there's no way they're going to shell out enough to probably get him. That's going to be the biggest problem. And it's like, well, your next best chance is, or your next best case is going and drafting a quarterback.
That's why I think draft, even if it's lateral, even let's just say the peak of Baker is going to be maybe better than the peak of Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett year one. You're good. It doesn't. It's what I think is that people forget very, very easily that Baker is slated to make $18.5 million this year. Trade him, get in. If you could get a first rounder for Baker Mayfield right now, I don't know how you say no, even if it's 23, like 2023 pick. Like if Indy really wants to give us a first for him, if Seattle wants to give us a first for him, I think that's a no-brainer operation from my perspective. Somebody who's wanted to move on for him. I didn't want to pay him in the offseason last year. I didn't want to extend him, which I think we actually did a pretty good job on that point. I believe in Andrew Berry, so it's just one of those things. But if you could get a first for him, and then you pay Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, whoever they really like in the draft, $660K. Well, now if you trade Baker now, you have $17-18 million to go get an Allen Robinson, to go get, another wide receiver who's on the market, maybe to get an edge rusher who's still out there, which I think was kind of the issue with going after Watson. You might have missed out on paying Chandler Jones $17 million. I'll go on the record. I think the Von Miller contract is absolutely brutal. I saw somebody on Twitter say they should just rest him the whole year and just bring him in for the playoffs. Totally agree. That's unprecedented behavior from an NFL team that's paying somebody $20 million a year, but he really didn't play that good in the regular season last year. He was a playoff warrior. I understand that. Obviously, he's been there, so that helps a whole lot. Bebo, hot take, but I think Grant Delpit has potential to be the top 5 safety in the league.
All right.
I agree. I agree with that statement.
All right, sorry I missed that. My nose is just running, so
no, you're good. I was just saying, if you get rid of Baker's money, you could entice another wide receiver. Potentially, you could pay Allen Robinson $17 million, pay a first round quarterback $660K.
Yeah, I don't know
if you could get a first for him. That was prefaced by saying if Indy wants to give us a first for Baker, I don't see how they say no to that.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is that the Colts were going to take the quarterback of whatever team was the recipient of Watson. So I think Matt Ryan is due to be the next Colts quarterback, I guess. But, if I would I know, Jeff, you wanted to trade him to someone that's not in the AFC, but I would just take what's best, who gives you the best offer and just go from there. But quick tweet from Aditi Quickabonka. My understanding is Brown's brain trust believes it did just what it told Baker Mayfield's camp it would: investigate if a top-tier quarterback was available. Kevin Stefanski said 2 weeks ago he had confidence in Mayfield as his starter. He still does. So, does Mayfield want to be his starter? Well, I feel like that's just BS. I just don't know.
I just don't know where this, because I've heard conflicting reports about somebody said they want an adult as the as a quarterback, but people in the organization have said only one person said that. Other people didn't describe him like that at all. And once again, and I know it's tough. It's 2022. Everybody has, millions of followers on social media, and it's like I'm really all for people saying whatever they want for the most part, literally, especially on Twitter. But you have to understand that you just have to be patient. Like, if he doesn't put out this letter on Twitter, I don't think we're talking about this. I think that it's totally plausible we miss out on Deshaun Watson, and Stefanski and Barry just come out, and even if it's lies, just be like, okay, we told him we were going to look for somebody better. It didn't work, and he knows that if that didn't work, he was going to be the guy. Baker can't be upset about that. The front office looks like they did their due diligence to make an upgrade. Nobody's saying anything about Jimmy Haslam, and we're just moving on. Now it's like, well, Baker has this whole thing where he's making him feel like the victim. I don't think there's really any victim here. That's my opinion. I don't think the person that the Cleveland Browns did dirty to me was Jarvis Landry. That's it, really, right now for me.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about the whole situation is it's all he said, she said until a documentary comes out, or I don't know,
you're right.
Some BS comes out, and they're somehow they have all the facts, but we'll never get that. We'll never get that. Hugh Jackson to this day still says Jimmy Haslam was paying him not to win games or something. So it's really whatever the person wants you to think. But the the situation with Baker is like he's kind of pulling an Aaron Rodgers, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. Like we
Well,
all
I
know,
totally agree.
we all know that, and I think the like conversation that people have been saying is like, oh, if Jimmy G did this, but like the thing about Jimmy G is like if you put all three of those quarterbacks in a room together, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. The other two are nowhere near being Hall of Fame quarterbacks and have really no room to be making those kind of like arguments. And yeah, sure, Jimmy G never said anything about Trey Lance getting drafted or them making that trade or whatnot. But I think the thing with Baker is that he's still technically in the rookie deal. And so I guess he felt that all that he gave for Cleveland was kind of like just thrown out the window. And we can all argue that other quarterbacks could have done it, whatnot. He did come into a bad situation, but he also had very good situations for the past 2 years. And, I think he made good on 1 year and then he made bad on the other. So it's tough. I mean,
I just don't feel bad for the excuses that have become a repetitive pattern. His first year was great from his standpoint. You really can't start
quarterback.
You can't start much better than that. But what has transpired from then to okay, Hugh Jackson, whatever. I will completely throw out everything with Hugh Jackson. Trust me, literally trust me. But then people have just such short memories and everything is memory hold that it's so difficult to discuss a polarizing individual like Baker Mayfield. I was under the knowledge that he was in meetings with D. Haslam for Freddie Kitchens. And then it was like, oh, Freddie's not putting me in the best situation to succeed. 8 months later. It's always 8 months with this cat. He called out Kevin Stefanski at least once during the season saying that they're not playing to his strengths. And who knows? It could just be still the instability of the organization. You never really know if people are just putting on a good face and just saying whatever they can for the PR. But when stuff transpires, like, the locker room, I don't know how you think you could be successful when there's reports after the year, regardless of who's wrong or who's right, that the offense and the defense rarely talked. You don't talk to people on your team. Like, I know you're all making millions and you probably don't even like each other, some of you, but it's like you don't even talk to people. Like, you don't even really like who you're playing with. Then I don't really see how it could work. And you don't really like your coach. Like, you might not agree with everything. I'm not saying you just got to do it exactly whatever he says, but you got to have some sort of, give and take when it comes to being pro athletes. And here's the thing before you make comment. I don't agree with everything Colin Cowherd says. And I think he's actually kind of a clown most of the time. But
did you see the awful beer pour that he had last night or something?
Get him out. I know he was recording, so I know what was going on. But the thing that I listen to Colin Cowherd too closely on has nothing to do with sports. It's all about the industry, because the dude's been in the industry for a while. Yeah. And he said it for years, because I've listened to him, on and off for years. Stuff just doesn't get out, at least in the NFL, to his knowledge. Maybe it's changing, maybe stuff leaks, but if the team wants something to get out, it'll get out. So this whole comment about we want an adult at quarterback, I don't care who said it. Somebody wanted it out. Somebody could call me up and be like, hey, we need a comment. I'll be like, no comment. Sorry. I think we're going to people and trying to, I'm not saying we're running him out of town, but it's like, I just think we're trying to cover our own ass now that Watson has kind of fell through. And Baker's tweeting out, poetry.
I think it goes all back to what you were saying about if he had just gotten the surgery, we wouldn't be having this conversation in the first place. Because if you go back a year before that
would have been the most recent memory. Him winning a playoff game, literally.
Right. There'd be nothing. There'd be absolutely nothing. We really just wouldn't be having this conversation. But Jeff, I'm not really finding anything else on Twitter as of right now. Is there anything else that you want to hit home before we call this one quits? Because obviously we are just trying to keep everything. I see Mitch Trubisky in a Steelers press conference. That's great. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we call this one quits?
I just think, what do you think just predict? What do you think happens next? Signing, trade, quarterback.
I don't know in terms of signing. I'll keep it to the Browns. Quarterback situation. I think what will happen is Baker Mayfield will be the quarterback in 2022, but the Browns will draft a quarterback in between rounds 1 and 3. And I think that's that. I don't know that I haven't looked into next year. I haven't looked into what the free agency quarterback room is going to be in 2023, but I feel like this team, they need to have something to lean back on when Baker doesn't play well and Jimmy's like, "What is your plan? Like, why should I not fire your ass right now?" And it's not like it should be that conversation, because I don't think Andrew Berry or Kevin Stefanski, no matter what happens this next season, should be fired. But it's just like, I know the Haslams, they're idiots. Like, they'll legit just fire these two for no good reason. The best GM and head coach that we've had in the last probably 2 decades, and it'll be the Browns rebuilding again and for another decade. And I don't want that. So,
yeah, I don't know. At this point, the next thing I want Adam Schefter or somebody to tweet out about us, just at this point, because I really do think that the front office is underwater a little bit here. The quarterback position is a mess. And people think that, I guess the consensus is they're going to try to figure that out first if they really want to. But I don't know if that's possible really quickly. I want the next thing to come out is that Denzel Ward 3 or 4 year extension. We just need some good vibes, some good juju.
Keep the core.
If it's 17, 18 million, whatever, 19 million, that's fine. But does that, hinder you trying to be lateral and move to somebody else? How does the cap space work with a different quarterback? So I don't even know if that's possible, but I think that'd be a big boost to this franchise. A guy that everybody likes, everybody could get behind, say he's here next year. The defense is still going to be good next year. Even if we don't, get a stud edge, get a stud D tackle, whatever. It's going to be piecemeal together, and the core pieces are there. Miles, Newsome, Denzel, whatever, and just go from there. I just think we need to start getting some definitive pieces, in place, because that's what everyone else in the North has been doing. Baltimore has gotten significantly better the last 2 days somehow, and the Steelers aren't messing around. They're getting linebackers. They're getting their quarterback room is, done for, and the offensive line down in Cincinnati. So we just got to do something quick and smart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with all that said, thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribing, liking. We'll be trying to keep you guys updated with anything that happens Browns. And with that all being said, we'll keep you guys updated. Peace.